News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and now 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
The date of a coroner's inquest into a fatal police shooting has been set. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning. It is Tuesday, January 27th, 2015. And right now we have 22 degrees, just a little bit of fog in the area, partly cloudy sky. And our newscast this morning is sponsored by Dr. Troy Doxey and the friendly team at Chiropractic Works, where they're dedicated to chiropractic solutions. This morning's top story, there were two officer-involved shootings that occurred within 24 hours of each other on New Year's Eve, but only one was fatal. Yesterday, Deputy Missoula County Attorney Jason Marks announced that a coroner's inquest into the shooting would be held on March 9th.
In the case of an in-custody death, in this instance, the fatal shooting that Officer Paul Kelly of the City Police Department was involved in, we conduct a coroner's inquest, which involves putting all the evidence in the case in front of a coroner's jury for them to determine if the death was the result of a criminal act or not.
Marks describes the jury and its responsibilities.
Just citizens from the community. It's pulled from essentially the same group that would be on any jury. They'll hear from the investigator from the sheriff department, would hear witness testimony from eyewitnesses, see video evidence, that sort of thing.
One of the distinctions in a coroner's inquest is that members of the jury are allowed to ask questions of witnesses. Marks said with all the witnesses and testimony, he expects the inquest to be wrapped up in 1 to 2 days. 20-year-old Caleb Williams was killed during the incident. Officer Paul Kelly has been on administrative leave with pay since that shooting incident. The body of a Montana man was found along the Groom Trail in Yellowstone Park. Park officials say snowshoers called 911 at around noon Saturday after spotting what they thought was a body along a trail in the northern part of the park. Rangers responded about 8.5 miles east of Mammoth Hot Springs and located the body of 52-year-old Merrick Morgan of Belgrade. Initial indications are that Morgan died of hypothermia, but his death is still under investigation. Judge Karen Orzak disagreed with Deputy Missoula County Attorney Matt Jennings during yesterday's Justice Court appearance of a man accused of beating up a 3-year-old girl.
Yes, Your Honor. The state recommends $10,000 in bail, with standard conditions including no contact with the child, her sister, her mother, or her residence, which I believe is at Council Grove Apartments. He lives elsewhere.
According to court records, on January 21st, 25-year-old Nicholas Hopfner allegedly struck the child with his fists, giving her 2 black eyes, along with a discoloration on her forehead and nickel-sized bruises on her forearms. He was charged with felony assault on a minor. Judge Orzak said, quote, "Due to the serious nature of the crime, I'm setting bail for the defendant at $20,000. And he is prohibited from having any contact with the victim, her 5-year-old sister, or the victim's mother," end quote. Hopfner appeared via video from the Missoula County Jail wearing a special garment meant to prevent him from injuring himself. Judge Orzak set his next court appearance for February 9th. Attorneys for a Wyoming man convicted of killing a Montana woman in 1988 say years of negative news coverage would make it impossible for him to get a fair hearing on whether he deserves the death penalty. Dale Wayne Eaton was convicted in 2004 of abducting and killing 18-year-old Lisa Marie Kimmel of Billings. Eaton's lawyers don't dispute that he killed her. U.S. District Judge Alan Johnson of Cheyenne in November overturned Eaton's death penalty, ruling he didn't get an adequate defense. Eaton's lawyers say Casper District Attorney Mike Blonningen made inflammatory comments to the press about the case. Blonningen denies doing anything improper. A fast drive down Garrett in Missoula nearly turned deadly for 2 teenagers who crashed a Honda into multiple vehicles and homes Sunday night. Public Information Officer Travis Welsh has details.
About 10:39 p.m., 911 received calls from more than one complainant indicating that there had been a crash involving a vehicle that appeared to have struck some unoccupied cars and a couple of homes on Garrett Street near the intersection of Arcadia. Investigations revealed that there was a young male, young female in the vehicle that appeared to be coming down Garrett Street at a speed in excess of the posted speed limit.
No one but the occupants of the Honda were injured, but there was a significant amount of property damage. Welsh says alcohol does not appear to have been a factor.
Male was 18 or is 18, and the female is 17. An intoxicant of some kind does not appear to be a factor in the crash. Both occupants of the vehicle did receive some initial medical treatment. However, it does not appear that either suffered life-threatening injuries.
The teenage driver was going faster than the speed limit, which is only 25 miles per hour on Garrett. At this point, though, police are not revealing the actual speed of the vehicle during that crash. A Billings man has been sentenced to more than 3 years in federal prison for possessing a police department-issued rifle taken from an officer's private vehicle. The Billings Gazette reports U.S. District Judge Susan Waters sentenced 32-year-old Kyle Harmon on Friday to 3 years and 5 months in prison. He earlier pleaded guilty to receiving a firearm while under felony indictment and possession of a stolen firearm. Waters said the term would run consecutive to Harmon's 5-year state sentence for robbery, theft, and drug convictions. On Sunday, Montana Congressman Ryan Zinke was on the cable news show Fox and Friends, expressing his opinion that the current U.S. military engagement in Iraq was ineffective.
Clearly, airstrikes are not going to be effective in the long term. I do think we're going to need, to further engagement, and that's make sure we supply logistics, ammunition, medical supplies to our Kurds and our Sunni allies. I mean, we have to restore credibility. Simply talking about rhetoric, more rhetoric, doesn't result in action on the ground. And air operations alone is not going to be effective.
Zinke also urged more U.S. troops to be involved in the conflict.
The hard truth of it is it's going to take troops on the ground. Air operations alone will not be effective, and we've seen it not effective. Now, troops on the ground doesn't mean frontline, ground troops, but it does mean logistics. It means blocking forces. It means engagement to make sure we have the right people on the ground to help them with their air assets.
As a Navy SEAL, Zinke served as one of the troops on the ground during Operation Iraqi Freedom. A 54-year-old Billings woman has pleaded guilty to defrauding 2 elderly men out of more than $35,000. The Billings Gazette reports that Rachel Marks pleaded guilty Friday to exploitation of an older person at 2 counts of deceptive practices, all felonies. She remains free on bond pending her sentencing on March 16th. And finally, a 49-year-old Helena man who's been convicted of 11 drunken driving offenses has been sentenced to prison for 50 years. District Judge Kathy Seeley has sentenced Sean Kevin Smaj on Thursday, saying he would have to serve at least 25 years. He was on parole in December of 2013 when he was arrested in his latest DUI. Newstalk time now is 6:10.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Low clouds and patchy fog possible this morning. Otherwise, clouds will be on the increase today, but we still expect plenty of sunshine. Temperatures will warm into the mid-40s in the Missoula Valley, upper 50s in the Bitterroot Valley. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13.